everybody, welcome to Expression Pass here on Boss Rush Media. I'm your host, the Lights Excited ADV. Joining me is the one, the only bossman himself, Mr. Corey Derrick. Hello, good sir.
Hello, Ed. How's it going? How was that 3.5 hour episode of Pow Block we just did?
We just celebrated 400 episodes, everybody, and it was a good discussion to have. It was a great show. You have not checked it out, here are 3.5 episodes of us talking about Nintendo games.
Yeah,
yes.
It's we've been doing this a long time, right? I mean, besides just Pow Block, we've probably done 700 or 800 episodes of something together at this point, right? I mean, if you include Arsenal X, if you include the 2 or 3 times we've tried to do expansion pass at some point, if you include just Boss Rush podcast and all the other things that we've done over the years, like there's a lot. We've done a lot together. And so even though Pow Block has hit 400 episodes, we've done just so much at this point together that it's like, I don't know, I can't even believe how much we've done at this point. You know, it's been it's just been wild to think about how much we've done. And I'm not, obviously clearly not complaining, but like it's just like, man, I can't believe, like, we look back at it all over the years and like how much things have changed and how many quote unquote great ideas I've had that just fizzled out or just probably wasn't the right decision, or you know what I mean? Like there's just and how many things that we've tried to do in just time, and we've had to like reschedule stuff, and it's just been a crazy thing going on here, right? And so I don't know, man. I can't believe we've made it this far, honestly, in a lot of ways. Like most podcasts only make it to 7 or 8 or 9 episodes is like the kind of like where people start falling off. And so I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's crazy that we've hit 400 episodes and we're 8.5 years into this, and everything Boss Rush has accomplished, and kind of, you know, this being our third group type thing. And I don't know. How do you feel, Ed?
I kind of feel that it's definitely been a growing process. Just being able to do this with other people who love Nintendo, being able to meet you and do this and go for so long, and you know, looking forward to podcasting and talking about just video games in general with you and with others. Like I've mentioned before, in some of my 1v1s, is that I didn't have no one to talk to about video games, and for 8 years plus to talk to you and other people about video games, it's just so exciting. And you know, at the time before Pow Block even started, I was doing my own podcast and on another network doing podcasts and stuff. You was doing DNA, and we met through Nintendo voice chat, and we just got to talking. And then when you invited me to be like, hey, you want to do a Nintendo podcast? I'm like, oh, heck yeah. And, you know, shout out to Adrian Nieto, who joined us for that first episode. It was so amazing. And it, like, once again, like I said, it felt like we knew each other for years. And it was like literally our first time recording.
Yeah.
And still recording after that. And of course I had to miss some shows do the work, but like I used to tell you that I would be driving like a bat out of hell trying to get home to record and stuff.
Yeah, and I mean there were obviously times where we would record, like, because we knew what we were doing, but we really didn't know what we were doing. You know, like we would record like 4 or 5, we would record like 2 or 3 episodes in a week, and then we would like not record for like a couple weeks, and then we would record 2 or 3 episodes, and like we'd always be chatting and what, Facebook Messenger at the time, I guess it would have been.
Yeah.
And so it's just a crazy kind of start to all this. And then, obviously we've had a bunch of third chairs throughout the years. Some stayed longer than others. And, when we were trying to figure out what Boss Rush really was, and you took over hosting this show, and I kind of left for a little bit, and around the 220 episode mark for like, I don't know, a couple months, because we were trying to figure out what the best route was. And Arsenal X was still going, and Jesse wanted to do that, but it needed a host because he didn't really want to host it. And, it just, all these things, right? And I
Yeah.
miss having Jesse around, right? Like I wish he was still around to do stuff. And I need to, he messaged me a couple weeks ago, and I read it, and I was busy, and I forgot to message back. And now that I'm thinking about it, I should probably do that. But it's
Yeah.
just, I think we've done a lot of great things, and I think we've done a lot of things that we've learned from, which I think is probably the biggest thing, is just learning from what we've done already,
Hmm.
and moving forward, because I think we have done a lot of great things, especially lately, right? I mean, a lot of the decisions, and obviously we have a lot of help too, right? I mean,
Yes.
Stephanie and David and Laron, and bringing Pat in when EXP cast kind of went away, and the writing team and the website kind of, it's been awesome. And I don't know, what else,
I
what do you have to say, man?
I I,
I feel like I'm taking all the
I think because throughout the 8 years, definitely just for a Nintendo Pow Block, is that we have been our natural selves. We've been having these conversations, and what makes it great with us, our dynamic, is that I might have a hot take, you may seem more reasonable, but that is what made a balanced show, is that we offer various opinions about things, and it also, it makes the listener and viewer learn about us, like on a personal level, but we learn about each other also on a personal level. Like you said, the episodes, when we talk about this so many times, there's been episodes that we don't know, I won't say not know what we're doing, but we just didn't have an idea of what to talk about, because sometimes news wouldn't be there and everything, but something just out of our natural conversations would come up, and that's an hour and a half show or two
Mhm.
hour show, and we'd be like, oh man, like I still go back to the Metroid Helldivers cross up that we
Oh
talked about.
gosh, yeah.
Like that was a 2-part episode, and it was more of idea after idea after idea of, what if this thing was in this genre and designed this way, what could it possibly, and we just came up with so many outcomes that by the time we got done with the episode, we were just like, how the heck did we take a something that's supposed to be like maybe 15 or 20 minutes and expand it to like an hour and a half, and that's a show and everything. And then
Right.
came back and did a part two, expounding on more of it. And so I think that's what I loved about Power Block, is
Hmm.
that, like I said, our natural conversations for it, with our guests, with like our co-hosts and everything. It's just, everything still just felt natural. And I think that's what Power Block kind of did for Boss Rush, and really for all of the stuff that we've been through, is that people got into us because of Nintendo Power Block, and hearing our discussions, and maybe hearing the zaniness and the hot takes and stuff, and people were just like, I'm gonna check this out, um, and look what it helped build. with
Yeah.
Boss Rush. Do every, like I said, do every ups and downs, something always good comes out. Whether it's something that we are learning or something that we have been through and we know how to handle it
Hmm.
and everything. I was telling you at PAX East that this was a big thing to us because this was something that we've been trying to do. Go to PAX, have a network, like really get it to, I won't say get it to the industry of video games, but like really feel like people are noticing us, that our work is, I won't say our work is not in vain or anything, but people know that we are people who love video games and love being creative and putting our work out and being, and people knowing about it and talking about us. And then look what happened at PAX East. Like, people knew about us. People enjoyed, talking to us and having fun and stuff. And like, we, something that we started with Nintendo Pow Block uh at that time, um ended up being to going to PAX, and you getting you being able to do the final shape review, which led to Bungie publishing your review. And that's a, like I told you, that's a big major milestone for Boss Rush and everything. Like, being able to talk to the developers at Way Forward and other video game developers and creators and stuff, like, that's a big thing. And all of that kind of came from Nintendo Pow Block. And I know you was doing other things with DNA, and like I said, I had optional opinion going on, and we was doing our own things, but we came together, and look where we have gone from. Because like, Pow Block could have been a one and done thing. Like, we didn't know how all of us would gel with each other, but once everything felt natural, once everything felt like, oh, okay, this is cool. Let's figure out how things are working, our dislikes and likes. What can we build together? And look what happened. 8 years now, we're still talking about Nintendo. We're still doing talking about video games. We're still getting to meet other creators. We're still able to do stuff, and people noticing us, not just for Boss Rush, but just like Nintendo Pop Block, 400 episodes. Like, that that is still to this very day, I feel like a milestone. Because like you mentioned, a lot of podcasts could be over 8, 9 years of stuff. I mean, 8, 9 episodes, but we've been going on for 8 years.
Yeah. And the fact that like the smarter decision probably would have been like, hey, we're only going to focus on Pow Block. Right.
Right.
And, but also at the same time, like if we did that, like where would we be at today? Right. Like, would we have, people like LaRon, who like admittedly isn't as obvious, clearly isn't as big of a Nintendo fan as we are, right? Like he
Right.
likes, Metroid and Advance Wars and certain aspects of, and 2D Zelda games and stuff, but like he's not like playing or buying everything that we are. And
Right.
would we have people like him? Would we have been able to draw in people like, obviously David came from Zelda Dungeon, but like, would we have been able to draw him in? Would we have been able to draw Stephanie in? Like, there's all these factors that, like, yes, the smarter thing would have been to focus on one podcast and kind of expand on that over time.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, bringing the Boss Rush podcast in allowed us to have different perspectives and talk about other consoles. And, Arsenal X allowed us to, meet different people in the Xbox space. And even though we're not really doing that anymore, like, I think we have taken the long way around, but we've finally figured it out, right? And so
Right.
I hope that whatever people take away from this, like Pow Block is kind of the heart and soul of this whole thing. Even though, like, when we talk about stuff in our business meetings or whatever, like Pow Block's not we're not monetizing Pow Block. It's not like a thing that we're using to build a monetization platform off of, right? Like, but it's the heart of what we've built here, even though, Boss Rush Podcast is, quote unquote, the flagship of the network because it's called the Boss Rush Podcast. But like,
Hmm.
people came here for Pow Block and people came here for Nintendo stuff. And, you know, I think by extension, indie stuff now, right? With what the writing team is doing. But like, what's the biggest platform besides PC that indies are on, right? I
Yeah.
mean, what is it? It's Switch, right? It's Nintendo. Whether that was on purpose or by accident from Nintendo doesn't matter. Um, it just Nintendo is the heart and soul of gaming, and Pow Block is the heart and soul of Boss Rush. And so I hope it continues that way. I think it will, as long as you and I want to do this and are breathing, you know.
Exactly.
Because like, I mean, even at the end of the day, right? You and I have both said like, yeah, even if Boss Rush goes away tomorrow, like I would hope we would still be doing Pow Block at least, or some version of it, you know, um, because it's just what we love to do. Is this?
And I can't stop bringing Nintendo into stuff. I can't stop talking about.
Oh,
I
we
mean,
we know
yes,
you brought
but I
Nintendo into our Destiny conversation. Tell me how that happened.
yes, but think I think when I the place that I was come from when it comes to Nintendo is that there was I should have said stereotype. There was an idea of what Nintendo was to people.
Hmm.
And even when Nintendo was doing their own thing and not following trends and stuff like that, people just had an idea of what Nintendo was and everything. So because of that idea, Nintendo would get dismissed. But I'm like, you look at all the past years that Nintendo did till now, people are still wanting. People now want that old stuff to come into the future and everything. You know, GameCube, Wii U, N64, Super Nintendo. Like people want all of that retro stuff to come to Nintendo now. So it's just like I think it's just like the idea of dogging Nintendo because of what they did in the past. Now everybody want to catch up or want Nintendo to release it so they can see what they miss and
Hmm.
everything. And so when we talk about video games, the culture and you know the industry and stuff, some people still want to exclude Nintendo, even though Nintendo is winning in if you want to not the console wars or something, but winning in a business sense. You cannot you cannot have a video game conversation without Nintendo in a sense because all the people who talk about all the other platforms, they're trying to do what Nintendo has already done
Hmm.
and has tried to do it better. So it's just like, how are you going to have a video game conversation without having one of the biggest companies in this video game industry still not in the conversation or anything? So yes, I may bring Nintendo up in. I definitely brought Nintendo up on our snacks. I definitely brought Nintendo up during our PlayStation podcast, like even the Boss Rush podcast or anything. I brought them up because Nintendo wasn't getting recognized for the stuff that they were doing and everything. And
Yeah.
like they were doing it right. Like they were they like I said, they was getting I won't yeah, stereotype into something. And Nintendo just like, that's not us. We're doing our own thing. Everybody else is catching up. Now to see the success, it's just like you cannot ignore a console that people thought was going to fail or probably should fail because of the launch lineup. And
Hmm.
look how strong that has gone and everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's Nintendo. I mean, even from like a managerial standpoint, look how Nintendo's being like praised now with like all these layoffs and stuff. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I know people like to point to the like the Iwata kind of thing, which is, a big part of it, but like also, Nintendo has been really smart about um they've been trying to figure out a quote unquote gimmick that works, right? And like the Wii was a
Right.
fad, the Wii U didn't take off how they wanted it to, but like the Switch has done the best thing that they possibly could have ever done, right? And that's merging the handheld and the TV experience to the point where like Steam, like Valve came out and said like, "Hey, our biggest inspiration was Nintendo for doing the Steam Deck." And you know, I mean, obviously PlayStation and Xbox no doubtably will release a handheld each of their own in the next
Mm-hmm.
2 years, right? I think Xbox will launch, that'll be their quote unquote Series S SKU for the next generation, I would say, would be
And
the
and
handheld.
and and Xbox is, if Xbox would still continue to go heavy on cloud gaming, do Game Pass, even if they don't release their handheld, they have a service that could give you that experience. It's up to
Hmm.
you to play on the hardware of your choice.
Yeah.
You know.
Hmm. Yeah. It's Nintendo's been a big inspiration in a lot of ways to a lot of people, including us,
Mhm.
right? I mean, we
Yeah.
wouldn't be doing this podcast without them. Um, but Ed, let's get into
It,
some of these listener
yes.
questions, because I think this will help guide the rest of the conversation. Uh, Cordy Yikes via Discord asks a question. What are your most favorite podcast episodes from Nintendo Pow Block?
I definitely, I was thinking about this. Definitely our first episode, Corey. Because I know we was talking about Breath of the Wild. I think we just seen that E3. I think we just got the title of it, I
Yeah,
believe.
we started it. We started Pow Block around the E3 where Breath of the Wild got its title.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. So, and it, I say it's one of my favorites is because like that was the start for me doing Nintendo Power Block with you and with Adrian.
Hmm.
You had already was on a you had already started a Power Block podcast.
Well,
Um
it wasn't a podcast really. It was like a so the first YouTube group the first group of content I was making, the first group, I wanted to do a Nintendo YouTube show, and we
mhm,
called it the Pow Block, right? And like it was like like a TV block. It was like a play on words in multiple levels. Obviously, the Pow Block is an iconic thing in Super Mario Brothers, but also like they used to call TV like where you would schedule a TV show like a time block, right? And
mhm,
so the idea was like, oh, this is the PAL block, like a TV block for a show. Um, and so that was the idea behind the name. And then obviously that kind of fizzled out once DNA started fizzling out, and we couldn't make time to do everything. And so I was like, oh, well, we could, you and I started talking to each other a little bit through Facebook a little bit, right? And
right.
we decided to do this. And yeah, I mean, there was a lot to that, but there's been a lot of memorable episodes. Really, especially that first year of the Switch was an amazing run of episodes. I would say, I really enjoyed episode 300 when Stephanie was on. I know Stephanie probably didn't enjoy it as much as we did because it was like a 4-hour episode, but
Yeah.
sorry, Stephanie. uh, but ranking those, our favorite Nintendo games,
Mhm.
and games that appeared on Nintendo platforms. Ranking the Wii U games was a pretty fun time. That 2-part
Yeah.
episode was really fun. All of our E3 episodes were always really fun.
Yeah.
Doing live
Uh
episodes was fun. I kind of want to do live episodes again.
I would take the week off for E3 just to do the E3 live stuff, which you definitely um
Yeah, that's
one of
schedules that we were allowed to manipulate.
uh one of one of my favorite episodes, and I know you weren't on it, Corey, is I think it's me, Galatrad, David, and LaRon, and I was doing the question showcase with them and everything, and I gave I think I gave David. I think I gave David the Monster Hunter question. Yeah, I gave David the Monster Hunter question. And no, what did I? Yeah, I gave David the Monster Hunter question, and then I gave LaRon the Legend of Zelda question because it was kind of random on how many questions people was answering. And just the reaction that David had gave, and LaRon was cracking up about the question and stuff. It was just such a favorite moment and such a great episode. Um, Ranking the Legend of Zelda series with Becca, um, David, and Dan, or was it Galatrad? I think it was Galatrad. Just ranking the Zelda series and uh calling uh the Legend of Zelda what's the not Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, calling it a side quest sequel. and, and that just causing a bunch of laughter and maybe some upset, but I was just like, that's how I felt about the game. And you know, just like episodes like that, um
People
like
were
I
not
said,
happy
are
with you when you called it that.
yeah. But that's how I felt at the time.
Yeah,
It kind of became a word, a phrase, side quest sequel.
yeah. Around here, at least. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've I'm just really grateful that we get to continue to do this in some capacity.
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love, you know, everything else. I really do. Sometimes sometimes more than this, sometimes less so, but
Hmm.
at the end of the day, like I think the show, I don't know. I don't think we're ever going to stop doing this show, to be honest. Um, so that's just me though. Um so yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything else to say about this in particular?
Um, no, not really. It's just that was just something. I mean, out of 400 episodes, we have had a lot. Um, they're talking about. Oh, definitely one of them is about the Iwata passing.
Hmm.
When Iwata passed, um, that one was very emotional. Not just that episode, but the that Sunday that the news came out that he passed away.
Hmm.
Like I literally was in tears. Um, actually went to Fridays, uh, and everything. It felt better, but like really, that was just a moment of like sadness for the whole industry, and um, it was sad to because of whatever people thought about Iwata. The man had heart. He cared about his employees. Definitely, when you read his book, um, when you see him on Nintendo Direct or Nintendo Showcase presentation, whatever, um, you was happy to see that he came and was talking about delays and hopefully people be excited, like the salary cut that he took so he could keep his employees was a big thing. And then all of that stuff, all of that time that Iwata was going, as president of Nintendo, being that change, when he passed away, it was just like, what happens to this company in the future? We do see now what happened, but Iwata was when he took over Nintendo, he literally became the heart of Nintendo, and you got to see some changes for it. Like you didn't get to go. A lot of modern gamers nowadays didn't get to experience the Yamaguchi days and how strict he was with Nintendo and that stuff. People got to experience Nintendo through the Iwata days, and whatever you thought about it and stuff, at least Iwata came out and he talked and he showed himself when the Nintendo Directs was started and you seen Iwata. It was just like the president of the company is doing these, and regardless of all the memes and videos and gifts and stuff, Iwata meant something. He was the heart and soul and representation of Nintendo, and he you know he was that person and everything. And people were just so happy to see him. And so his passing hit that when like from every company from Japan, uh, Europe, Canada, here, just across. That I think that was a unified time that no one was having discourse about video games at all. Everybody really was on the same level of RRP Iwata and missing him. So when we did that episode and we talked about him and everything, I think that really meant something, not just for me, but pretty much to I think the whole Nintendo company community, because and probably in every gamer, because even days after he passed, there was still artwork coming. People going to Japan to leave something like it. It was just something that unified the whole video game industry and communities. It's just like I don't know any other video game developers death that has hit hard like Iwata's. So that
Mhm.
Iwata episode was one of my favorites, was a big one because everybody in that moment felt sorrow. And the people, I think if people make fun of it and be like good, like I didn't see any of that. And if people did, they were just like blocking them or they were like unfollowing them or anything. It was a moment of unity
Mhm.
across the spectrum. And like even for publishers and developers who never made a Nintendo game was paying homage and give showing Iwata love because of who he was and what he done and
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that was I mean, I was in New York at the Nintendo store when I found out, which was strange coincidence, but yeah, that was all the Kirby stuffed animals and the bananas and the, you know, book that I mean, there were people lined up around the store to sign the Nintendo memory book that they put out for
Yeah.
him, and it was something, man. Um, but our final question of the night comes from Mary Helen MH Norris via Discord. Uh, Not Nintendo related, but since it's a milestone episode, what is the best piece of advice for someone who's wanting to start a podcast? You're 400 episodes in. Share some of your wisdom on how you got this far with the world. Ah,
Um,
man.
Passion. Like I mean, yes, dedication, time, and effort plays a big part of this, but you gotta have a passion
Mhm.
for it. And a passion to be like, I know I have had a hard day. I know I'm tired and stuff, but I'm like for some people, podcast is their therapy at times. And being able to talk about things that you are passionate about and that you love will keep you motivated and going, regardless if you got listeners or not. Because at some point in time, someone's gonna be looking for your work and hear it, and they may ask, I enjoy what you have done. Is there anything more and stuff?
Mhm.
Um, I know for me, like, yeah, I speak about passion, and I like I told Corey, I look forward to recording Power Block back in my Toys R Us days. Like I keep saying that I'm driving like a bat out of hell to get home because I looked forward to talking to Corey and others about Nintendo. Like that that was one of my biggest passions, one of my biggest drives. Like if I didn't talk about be able to talk about Nintendo on Power Block, I was going to talk about it somewhere like optional opinion. Like I was going to get not get into my feelings. I was going to be able to express my love for video games, but my enjoyment and bias and fandom, if you want to call it, for Nintendo through some form of podcast, writing, whatever, through some kind of creativity because that's what I was passionate about. So I definitely will say that, you know, you got to have a passion for this. It's going to take a lot of hard work, you know, whether you come on the show, whether you're producing it, editing, whatever. It's going to take a lot of hard work. But if you have passion for it, if you have drive, if you know you try to put yourself out there and everything, and don't be afraid to voice your opinion and stuff because there might be somebody who agree with you, someone who don't agree with you. You get to be able to express your side of stuff, and it's good to get a response that someone might disagree with you but might enjoy hearing your opinion and stuff because they hear the passion in your voice and
Mm-hmm.
everything. So um Corey, I don't know if you want to add anything or say anything.
I mean, so this is a loaded question because we definitely have not done everything right. uh, Quite the opposite, actually, for the most part. But at the end of the day, like I think you have to have people that are, you know, at some level just as committed as you are. Um, I think you have to come up with some sort of plan and some sort of niche because there are so many podcasts out there these days, right? Like starting
Hmm.
one today seems like such a daunting task. I mean, even continuing with these podcasts still feels daunting at times when you look at shows that do numbers and it's it's hard, I mean, a lot of people kind of think that talking to each other is easy and that part's sure you can talk to people, that's easy, but like doing it in a fashion of like sitting in front of a microphone and projecting your quote unquote online character and your persona and having your performance face and your performance mask and your performance voice on, like there's really a lot that goes into it, and it's not going to just happen on the first episode either. Like if you're going to start, plan on your first 8 to 20 episodes sucking, right? I mean, they're just
Hmm.
going to suck. And I mean, it could be longer than that until you figure it out, but like you have to give yourself the runway to be like, okay, the first 20 episodes aren't going to be great. Let's figure out where we need to be, what we need to do, how we're going to do it. Are we going to do video? Are we not going to do video? Are we going to do audio only? How are we going to record? What's the structure? Are we going to have a structure? You know, Plan out the doc. We use Google Docs and Google Sheets for our stuff. Like,
Hmm.
I think being organized gives you a huge advantage. I think having um a topic to talk about, like a very specific topic, like we talk about Nintendo here, or Destiny. My Destiny podcast is a really big Destiny podcast, and having that focal point is big, and that gives you something to kind of work a show around. um and then segments and inside jokes and you know questions and all these things will come later, but having that foundation organization and the foundation of a structured show that focuses on something is, probably the best advice. And just keep going at it, keep figuring it out. And if you need to tweak something, change something, don't be afraid to do it. God knows I'm not afraid to do it. God, we've done that enough times on this show. You know,
I Corey gets on me about this, but I'm like, oh, it's a new season of this, of that.
yeah. Also, be consistent with your release cadence. Like, make it. I Some people go bi-weekly, some people do seasonal shows, some people do weekly. I can't stand shows that aren't weekly. you know, uh, I think if you do less than weekly, like if you go every other week or once a month or whatever, like people are just going to forget about your show, or you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like when people kind of get into their routines, they know which shows they're listening to each day. They know, like maybe it's just me. I don't know. But like I know I'm listening to this show on Mondays. I know I'm listening to these two shows on Tuesdays. I know that this show is long on Wednesdays, and um when a show is missed, it really bothers me, when I and that's somebody who works at a day job. What about truck drivers? What about, you know, the kitchen staff in a restaurant? What about uh night, custodians or security people, or like people that work, even Ed, like I'm sure that you listen to podcasts at work in the mornings if you're doing truck, or at night
Mm-hmm.
when you're doing your overnight stuff. Like I'm sure podcasts keep you busy during that time. And so
Yep.
those are things that I think about when we do shows too. And I know that doing long shows is, some people really love them. I love them. One of my favorite podcasts is like every week is like 3.5 to 5 hours long. Comes out every Friday. I love it. Um, I know some people prefer to do 45 minutes to an hour. I would start small and grow over time. If you're going to do that, that would be my opinion on that too. Like,
Mm-hmm.
uh, my Destiny show started as like a half hour podcast, and it's now an hour and a half to 2 hours every week. This show started as an hour long show, and now it's
We never.
however long it needs to be, and that's the thing too. Don't put a time limit on the show, right? And I know, like, sometimes we say, oh, we got to get through this because of this and this, but like I think we've come to a lineup and a cadence of recording our shows to where we don't have to rush them, and they can just naturally be as long as they need to be, you know. Um, God knows we don't watch the clock for Pow Block. I mean, 2 weeks ago it was 3.5 hours. Last week it was an hour and 15 minutes, and this week it's going to be over 4 hours. I mean, it's just uh, and to some extent that's pretty inconsistent, but obviously this is a pretty special episode, and the Nintendo Direct episodes are always going to be long. And
Right.
I think you and I have a good cadence, just because we've been friends for so long and doing this for so long, that we understand each other. And that's really important too, is not only understanding who you're podcasting with, but understanding their, you know, uh, Ed has a lot of hot takes, and it's takes a lesser person would yell at him every time he says something. But me, I accept Ed for who he is.
Are you sure sometimes?
No, I'm not. No, but I mean, my point is like, at the end of the day, we have great chemistry, and we have a great friendship, and we know how to play off of each other, and we know what to expect from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that goes a long way into making what these shows are, and um, you're the eccentric, excited, all over the place person, and I'm more of the quiet, monotone person most of the time. Maybe monotone's not the right answer, but like the laid back one, I guess, for the most part. Um, so yeah, having a good cadence and a chemistry, not being on a timer, right? Like the thing that annoys me the most about podcasts, like IGN's podcasts do this all the time, and I get it. Like that's their job, and they have to be somewhere at certain times and whatever. But like, I hate it when they're like 53 minutes into the show and they're having a great conversation. Well, we got to end in 7 minutes. Let's wrap it up. And it's like, well, I hate when shows do that. It's not like, a podcast is a podcast. It's not like you're part of a radio program block or like
Mm-hmm.
a TV schedule or something, right? You're going to be on podcast services and you're going to be on YouTube most likely. And like, there's no limit to those. There's no limit. So why are you going to limit yourselves? So that's all of my advice. So
So yeah.
I don't know.
Also, depending on what kind of podcast that you're going for, like if you're going for a movie podcast, um, definitely it's important to watch the movie, but also like get some facts about it if you can.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think depending on what kind of podcast that you're doing, like really get some, do some research and get some facts so that you could come and deliver a great episode, or whether it's going to be comedy, whether it's going to be serious, whether it sounds like it's a documentary, like you really want to be prepared and stuff. And if you guys just or gals want to come together and just gab, go ahead and do that and everything. If you want to improv, like the podcast is always up to you and who you're doing with on how y'all want to go about it. But yeah, like Corey said, do plan ahead. So, like plan ahead, get a feel of a format, um, and don't be afraid. Put yourself out there and like have fun and everything.
Yeah, that's
So,
that's the thing too. Make sure you're having fun, right? I mean,
right.
that's the biggest thing. Is like we've tried so many different things over the years, like trying to do YouTube stuff and let's plays and streaming, and like all that stuff is fun, but it's also very stressful.
Mm-hmm.
And so, don't do the things that stress you out the most, right? I mean, I guess I should not be listening to my own advice, but like, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, don't try something because you feel like you have to be in that space. That's something
Yeah.
that I struggle with a lot is like, I would love to do streams. I would love to do watch alongs. I would love to do let's plays and unboxing videos and all these other, reaction videos and stuff. But like, you look at the time that you have to do these things, right? Like, sometimes you just have to pick a lane and stay in it and do the best you possibly can in that lane too. Don't feel like you have to be everywhere. Social, like even promoting our stuff on social media is the same way. Like primarily, we're still primarily on Twitter/X. We're dabbling in Threads right now too because it's
Yeah.
available in our social thing. But like, we don't make Instagram proper content. And so like our Instagram feed is just promotion for our shows. It's not like cool reels or anything, which they could be, right? And Cordy does a good job of doing a lot of that stuff too for us, and we're trying to make an effort in that space. But like she specializes in TikTok and Instagram reels, right?
Yes.
So that's the lane she's in, and so that's why that content exists there. It's not because we're good at it. No. uh and so our we're doing the best we can in the lane that we're in, and that's just something that you gotta realize and focus on. If the podcast works out and you want to start splintering off and trying new things, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But make sure the thing that you're doing, the primary thing, is the best it can possibly be, while also making sure you have the time to do it right and do the research. And if you're doing a gaming podcast, play the games. And if you're doing a movie podcast, watch the movies or the shows, or, yeah. I know Ed said
Yeah.
the research part already, but that's being prepared is a big part of it too.
Yes.
Can't just willy-nilly sit down in front of a microphone and spew vomit on stuff.
I mean, well, that's some marginal opinion episodes, but I did plan.
Boy.
I did have research for those, so everything. But yeah, so yeah. I think that's gonna be it, Corey, for Expansion Pass.
Yeah, this is a beefy one.
A very beefy one. So yeah, everybody, we celebrated 400 episodes of Nintendo Pow Block. So do go check that out. 8 years of recording, having discussions, sometimes arguing, but laughing,
Sometimes.
and a lot of good times and some bad times, some craziness, some wackiness, a lot of sometimes hype, sometimes when it's late and we're very sleepy, yet we still have some energy to record a podcast.
Like right now at 1:30 in the morning.
Yes. But with that, everybody,
I want to say before we go, like, I do want to say that I hope everybody got this far in this recording, because this is going to be a long one. But over the last couple of weeks, I've kind of been doing a lot of internal reflecting / figuring out what I want to do as a creator versus what's best for the team, and versus how can we make the shows the best they can possibly be, and not overextending everybody and myself. And I think I think what we're doing, we're in the best possible place we could possibly be right now. I feel very good about Pow Block's position. I feel very good about the Boss Rush podcast position. I feel good about some of the smaller things that we're doing. I feel good about After Dark's kind of position too. We're moving it to an quote unquote entertainment channel, to try to maximize the algorithm or whatever dumb YouTube stuff. And if we ever, bring standard definition back, that's where it would live too. Right. Which I would like to bring back someday, but also, like, you got to be real careful about the things that we're doing now, because, like, we're doing a lot of spotlights now, and Stephanie's kind of heading that up. We're planning on doing more spoiler casts and review discussions, like we talked about at the top of the regular episode. And that requires us to play the games, and that requires preparation, and trying to focus on what we have now. I think running lean and mean, as they say, with these, I think we're in a great spot. And I think Pow Block in particular is in a great spot. And I think we made the right choice with Expansion Pass, adding it as like a post show to the Pow Block. I think that's probably what we should have done all along, because the idea was there. But anyways, that's all I have to say.
But with that, everybody, have a great week. Have a great weekend. Celebrate 400 episodes with us for Nintendo Pow Block. And we will see you next time on Expansion Pass. Bye, everybody.
Bye. If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.